Today we're going to be learning about operations with absolute values. Now, it may be a little bit intimidating, but absolute values really are one of the easiest things to work with. Well, first off, what does absolute value mean? Well, it means just the distance away from zero on a number line. And something to remember is that distance is always positive. And the absolute value symbol is these little bars with a number in the middle. Let's see how this works. For example, the absolute value of -6. Well, you just find -6 on the number line. How far away from 0? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. It's 6 units away. Absolute value is 6. Let's try the absolute value of 3. Find 3. It's 1, 2, 3 units away from 0. Absolute value is 3. -3. Absolute value is going to be +3. You notice we're just taking away our negative signs. And the absolute value of -1.42 is about there. That's positive 1.42. Very simple, just taking away the negative sign. It's distance from 0. But what happens if the negative is on the outside of the absolute value symbol? The negative absolute value of 6, -6. The negative absolute value of -10 becomes -10. And the negative absolute value of -3.14 is -3.14. Notice that these negative signs, or these minus signs, just come straight down. You do the absolute value first. So let's try some actual operations with absolute values. Remember, to evaluate something with adding, subtracting, multiplying, dividing, you always have to use the order of operations. Now, these parentheses, this grouping symbol could also be, these grouping symbols could be brackets, and it could also be the absolute value. So we're going to treat these like parentheses. Then you would do any exponents, then you would do all multiplication and division together from left to right. And then at the end, you would do any addition or subtraction from left to right together. So let's keep that in mind as we move along. Let's try the first one. We're going to do the absolute value of -5 minus the absolute value of -14. Now the negative sign again, this minus, comes straight down. We do the absolute value of 5, absolute value of 14. They're both positive. Then we do 5 minus 14 is -9. Pretty straightforward. -20 absolute value plus the absolute value of 4. The plus sign comes down. Absolute value of -20 is +20. Absolute value of 4 is 4. 20 plus 4 is just 24. So let's try some multiplication. The absolute value of 4 times -3, we multiply 4 times the -3, we get -12, and its absolute value is +12. Well, what about division? Well, you do the division. 16 divided by -4 is the absolute value of just -4, and the absolute value of -4 is going to be 4. Now let's try one more complex. Remember, a fraction bar is also a grouping symbol. You do everything on top and everything on bottom first. So we're going to subtract the 5 minus the 8. We're going to get -3. We're going to subtract 14 minus 6 and get 8. We get the absolute value of -3/8. Well, the absolute value of -3/8 is +3/8. Let's try another one. Now we're going to have the multiplication here and multiplication here. That comes before the addition and subtraction, so we're going to bring down this minus sign. Okay, we have the absolute value. Let's do our multiplication. -6 times 3 is -18. And -3 times 5 is going to be -15. Now we have minus a -15. Remember, that's going to be plus a +15. -18 plus 15 is going to give us the absolute value of -3. And its absolute value is going to be +3. All done. And for our last one, we're going to evaluate two different absolute values, and we're going to do those first. and then we're going to subtract them. So first we have 6 plus negative 3. That's going to give us 3. And 6 minus negative 5. Remember, that's plus positive. 6 plus 5 is 11. Now we're going to do the absolute values. Absolute value of 3 minus the absolute value of 11. That's going to give us 3 minus 11. And that's just going to be negative 8. So these subtraction signs just come straight down because we're going to do them last. Remember, always use that order of operations when you're dealing with absolute values or any expression.